You know,
What's going on, man?
I'm a little
It's Frank
disappointed.
Starfire.
Nice to meet you.
And, I'm a simple guy, and I live my life by really simple means, you know what I mean? And, I live by simple mottos and credos and phrases and everything because it works for me, you know what I mean? Lately, I've adopted a new...
Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy Frank Starfire, and this is the Just to Be Frank podcast. This one today is brought to you with heavy heart. Happy New Year to you all. Many blessings and all that. I just found out yesterday that my oldest brother, James Oglesby Jr., passed away. So I don't have many words for that. It's difficult, and I'll deal. I appreciate all the love and support that I've been shown in the days since, so I appreciate you. J.O., I love you, brother. You know what it is, man. We Oglesbys for life. OG. Love you, brother. Anyway, we're going to move on from that sad shit. I actually have, weirdly enough, what I might call my producer in the studio with me today. Vega is in studio with me.
What up, man?
And yep, you know what I mean? So he'll be sort of a silent partner for the most part because he doesn't have a mic on. Today we're going to talk to a good friend of mine by the name of Farjana Abdul. She is an actress. She is an athlete. And hold on. We're going to do this again because I didn't like that. We're going to do that again. Hold on, watch this. We're going to talk to my friend Farjana Abdul, who is an actor, an athlete, and a creative. That's just weird. I don't know if I can even pull that one off. Let me see how I can pull that one off here. Let's see. Creative, because there has to be a second adjective to that. There needs to be a second adjective. Okay. Yeah, this will work. Farjana Abdul, actor, athlete, creative dynamo. I like that one. That works for me. So we're going to speak to her about any number of things. She's joining us right now from California, and I'm about to let her in. And hey! Oh, we're getting audio. Farjana! Actor,
How are you?
creative dynamo, Farjana Abdul, everybody.
Hello.
I love your
I'm well.
good. I love your background. The plants are giving me all types of life.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Merry Hanukkah, and all that jazz.
Everything. Happy holidays. How are you doing?
I am well. I can't complain. Like I said in my intro, I found out the other day my oldest brother passed.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Thank you, but he's in New York, and unfortunately, I'm in Pennsylvania, so that's kind of a restriction. And then there's other
Yes.
things. You're on my screen here. My camera's there, so if it looks weird while I'm looking down at you, that's what.
No worries. I'm just looking at you either way, so I don't know where. I'm not staring at the camera. I'm just staring at you. So we can both be weird. It's
Yes.
fine.
Well, listen, man, it's fun being weird. I have no other way to be. Honestly, I don't know any
Yeah.
other way to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're acting out there.
Yes.
You're in California.
Right now I am not.
Okay.
Right now I'm actually in Wyoming. I am in the middle of nowhere right now.
I was gonna say, wait, who goes to Wyoming on purpose? That's not a thing.
It is a thing depending on, I guess, sort of what you want from
Okay.
life, you know?
Alright.
I love nature. I love peace, and you get a lot of that here. So yeah,
I mean,
this is where I'm at right now.
I live in Pennsylvania for the same reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I can still jet to
Yeah.
New York real quick, 2 hour ride, boom, boom. Like, if I gotta,
Yes.
you know, because I can't lie, I can't give up the full city life. I'm still a New Yorker at heart.
I don't know. I think for me, I believe like, home is like wherever you kind of make it.
Yes, indeed.
And I grew up in New York City,
Hmm.
but I don't know that I ever really would call New York home,
You didn't connect. You didn't connect to the city.
No, I think I was always like lost. Like I was always looking for something. And
What part of the city did you live in?
I lived in Queens.
Oh well.
Uh
Wait,
yeah.
what part of Queens? Hold on now. What part of Queens?
I grew up in Elmhurst, Queens.
Okay, well that explains it. Elmhurst,
Yes.
Queens sucks. Like there's nothing
Oh,
over
no,
there.
I would have to actually 100% disagree. If there's any
Really?
place in the world that I think is absolutely incredible in New York City, I would say it's around that Elmhurst area. Like any kind of food that you want,
Oh yeah,
you
no, no,
can
no, no.
get it, you know?
Queens is known for being the most culturally diverse place on planet Earth. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
and that's what I love about
I don't mean like that. I mean like, but it's not
it.
like, it's not like Jamaica Queens. You know what I'm saying? Ain't a rappers coming out of Elmhurst. Doesn't have a storied history, But no, but it is I ain't gonna lie. I enjoyed walking around the area, smoking a blunt, and just taking in the sights and smells all year. Because you're right, there's so many different lives going on there, so many different spices in the air and all that. Like you could smell tarragon, cinnamon, just all over the place.
And it
Oh,
is very walkable, and it's very, you feel safe. You feel sort of at home, like I know in New York City, like, at any given time, it's like if I was just like, hey, I want something to eat, I know I could run to a deli or something. I knew that something would be open no matter what time it was. Those are definitely things I miss. I would say that, the number one thing I miss is family.
mhm.
And the number two would be just food,
I
It's like,
I
you know,
understand completely.
yeah,
I
yeah,
understand because I ain't gonna lie, I miss bodegas. You know what I'm saying? I do. I miss bodegas. I live in the
yeah.
mountains. I don't live in Philly. I chose to come up here to the Poconos. Um,
Okay,
yeah, because I wanted.
beautiful there.
Yeah, man, and I just and I loved Queens, but it doesn't hold. It holds a lot of great memories for me, but it also holds a lot of sadness and tragedy too, man. So
Yeah.
I had to get up out of
I
that.
I think that's sort of, life in general for a lot of people, like, where they grew up, it's like that's where they have a lot of like sentimental, emotional
Hmm.
things. And some people want to escape and get away from that, or like, as you just start growing and just the natural progression of life, you want different things.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, I don't I hope that someday for work, that if I have to be in New York for acting or if I have to be in LA for acting, I would love to do be bi-coastal,
Hmm.
but you know, I just need peace and quiet.
I'll be honest with you. I think there's something to living in a remote place like Wyoming, but
Mhm.
working on either coast. I think there's really something very integral to that because living in a place like that is going to keep you grounded. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You're
Yeah.
literally in the earth. You're at the nature. You're at the mercy of nature. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Uh, they got bears out there, don't they? Wyoming has bears, right? Like big grizzly bears.
They have lots of animals. They have elk, they have
Ooh,
moose.
really?
Yeah, and I actually recently saw a moose for the first time ever in my entire life. It was just crossing the street, so we all needed to just stop.
Yeah, well, I look at it, but you know what? It's funny. I'm 38 now. I just got my license over the summer, but I
Mhm.
look at it in a way where, as opposed to saying, why is this deer or this whatever crossing my road? I look at it like, yo, the road has been built through their woods. So it's
Exactly.
theirs.
Yeah.
So yeah, stop.
Yeah.
Slow down. Don't hit the damn deer, man. Some people are just evil though. They will hit the deer. But I will say this. You said Wyoming has elk. You might have a house guest because I want to learn how to hunt and I want to hunt elk. So we ain't got those NBA.
There's definitely, hunting season and all of that here. I will say, like, I personally don't know anything about
Mhm.
it. But I did go to this this area where I saw hundreds of elk.
Woo.
And but at first I didn't know that it was there. There was a really kind gentleman there that was just like, hey, do you see like the elk in the distance? And he gave us his binoculars. And yeah, like from far away it just looks like a bunch of, like, bushes and stuff in the mountains, and then you look and you see them walking and everything, and you're like, wow. And they're smart. The area that I went is a national park. They know to go there during mating season because there's no hunting over there. So
Mhm.
it's like, it's so incredible to me how, life sort of finds a way. And, I'm sure every year there's a lot of elk and deer that get hunted, but it's super cool to see that they know,
Mhm.
over time, like where I can go to be safe and
Yeah.
away from people.
Yeah. And
So,
it's cool, man. That is, and you know
yeah.
what's funny? What I've kind of noticed is that younger deer, as we
Hmm.
like, I think they're evolving to a degree also where they recognize what a car is and they stay out of
Yeah.
the way. The younger ones, the
Yeah.
older ones are still, some of the older ones are still like, oh, yeah, with the antlers and no, but the younger ones is like, yo, watch out for the big light thing. Like that guy with the two big bright eyes, watch out for him.
Yeah.
They'll
Yeah.
sit there and watch you pass and just wait. Like they're smart. They're getting
They're
smarter.
very smart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like how
Yeah.
salmon always go back to their original spawning place.
Hmm.
That's an
Yeah.
amazing thing to me. Nature and life finds a way.
Yes, it does.
That's amazing, man. And then you have all these plants in your background, and I've watched your posts on
Uh,
Facebook and Instagram, so I know how much that life growing there means to you.
yes.
What is your background, if I might ask?
Uh, I'm I'm from Bangladesh. I grew up in New York City. Um, it's actually a really complicated question for me
Okay.
because I don't know that I have a particular background or a particular nationality that I really truly belong to.
Why do
Um,
you say that?
well, I grew up, well, I'm from Bangladesh,
Mhm.
but growing up, I didn't really have parents that taught me any of the cultures or anything. So I feel like a lot of the things that I learned were from watching Hindi films,
Mhm.
Indian films, which isn't really even my,
Right.
my
I get you.
background.
I get you.
But so I have that blend of it. And then I grew up in New York City. So, for me, it's like all I've known is New York and I've known, the life here. But I feel like the older I get and the more I, search within, I just find myself in a place where I'm like, I don't know that I have a particular um thing or religion or group or anything that I belong to. Like I feel like I'm a people of the world.
Which is fair, and that is I ain't gonna
Yeah.
lie. I feel much the same way. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
recognize that I am a black man of African descent,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
I don't harbor a religion. I don't harbor any real connections to anything but just
Mhm.
life. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's
Yeah.
what, that's I think an important thing. You know what I'm saying? Because while it may appear that you have no identity, in truth, and especially as an actor, you can escape into any identity. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It allows you that
Yeah.
chameleon like quality.
Yeah.
So,
And I think, that's sort of a journey that I feel like a lot of people in life are on is, just finding who they are. And you were pointing out my plants, that's something that I've I would say it's about like 2 years now that I kind of sort of got into. And the first plant that I ever bought, it was a succulent and it died. And everyone's always just like, saying how easy succulents are, but I think it really depends.
Right.
And so I was just like, oh, I can't really take care of plants or anything like that. But the more I started bringing them home and then doing research on them, I
Hmm.
think a lot of people, uh, you know, don't do the research on the plants and they'll just bring it home and then just be like, we'll see what happens. But, just like anything, like, whether it's acting or whether it's, taking care of plants, there's always research that
Hmm.
goes into knowing about the subject matter.
True.
So now I have so many plants and but it's not enough and I just need more and more. So
Listen. I'm about to start a garden come spring. I'm starting a garden. I bought the greenhouse. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
Because I want to become sort of self sufficient. I want to grow my own fruits and
Yeah.
vegetables, herbs, all sorts. I'm trying to become self sufficient in everything. Learn how to hunt. Learn. I already know how to
Yeah,
fish, and because I think that vital connection to nature is important too. Like the factory farming industry and all that is just atrocious.
yeah,
So I think we'd be a lot healthier if we got more connected to that hunting aspect, that hunter gatherer aspect of our personalities, start using that R complex a little bit more and get more primal and, you know, do some things
for
different.
sure. I do think that, we all need to be, like you said, self-sufficient. And I find it super interesting because I do just like little things like spring onions or something like that. Like, if I buy it, I'll cut it up and then I'll try
Mm-hmm.
to, keep growing
Yep.
it. Over this past summer, I actually was in Pennsylvania for a little bit.
Oh,
I was at my partner's parents' house for a little bit just over the summer, and they have a full garden and everything that they grow every year. And so I got to be a part of that, and that
mm-hmm.
was such a great experience to, you know, um, see put in the seeds, and then like see it grow and like water it, nurture it, take care of it. And, it is a process. It is time consuming, but the hard work always feels good. Like, when you're eating what it is that you just
So,
grew, you're like, oh, it's so good. Yeah.
just remember that people used to think it was magic.
Yep.
There's somebody out there still thinking right now that if they do some joint, they're gonna make it grow. And
Yeah.
I love that. I do
Yeah.
because I find that to have that belief in something, to be able to have that belief, especially something that's so what would be deemed as weird, as we said
Yeah.
earlier, it's a magnificent thing, you know what I'm saying? Because I find it interesting that there are only two things in the world that everybody agrees on or has in common: a creation story and stories of the supernatural.
Yeah.
Everybody has the same stories, you know what I'm saying? You're a vampire, whatever it is, it's all the same.
Yeah.
But if you believe in one, you're going to heaven or hell for that matter. And if you believe in the other, you're just crazy and also going to hell. You know what I'm saying? So I and that's why Frank doesn't do religion. But but I do like the aspect that everybody shares those two things. Even though we don't necessarily agree on it, it is there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We get these
Yeah.
stories from someplace. You said, okay, so you're back right into bring it full circle here. You're Bangladeshi, but you grew
Hmm.
up in New York. So,
Yeah.
but now you live in Wyoming. When did you transition into acting? Because I mean, I met you doing insurance like me, yo.
Yeah. Um, Acting, I would say, is something that has always sparked my interest, but I've just always been very scared, and just believing in myself, that's just not something that uh, just came super easy to me.
Hmm.
So I feel like I'm just a very creative person. And
Yeah.
so I've always pursued some sort of creativity, whether it's, music, I was pursuing singing for a bit,
Mm-hmm.
I was a part of a dance group for a bit. And so we were doing touring in the East Coast. And then, um, you know, I, I played and messed around with the piano a bit. I'm not great at it, but it takes practice, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but acting was just like the one thing that I was always like, oh, I can't do that. Like that, that's not me. I couldn't do that. And, but about 5 years ago, I moved from New York to California,
Mm-hmm.
and I moved there mainly to do again, one more other creative thing that I'm interested in is photography.
Nah, I got
So
you there. I do
I
that.
moved there, yeah, because I was just like, oh, nature photography, like,
Mm-hmm.
landscapes, like I'm just so interested in all of that. It's going to be great. And so I would say it's been about like 2-ish years now that I was just like, maybe I can try acting. Maybe it's something that I want to do. But I just kept like, just kept taking my time with it. I didn't really want to pursue it. And then I took some classes
All right.
in the beginning of last year, and I fell in love. I was just like, this is what I want to do. It just felt like it was like an awakening for me, almost like this is what you were meant to do. You've, done a bunch of other stuff, and you've given a shot at being good at a bunch of things, but what if you gave it your all to be great at one particular thing? And so, you know, yeah, so I started acting in the beginning of last year, and then quarantine happened.
Uh-huh.
So
Kicked all our ass. This is why I have the
yeah,
Just to Be Frank podcast because
yeah.
quarantine.
um, yeah. So, once the pandemic hit, it's like then that kind of shifted a lot of different things, but I realized that my passion was still there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still super curious. I'm so excited by it. And so, I know that, once all of this, sort of settles down a bit, it's, for me, it's just go time.
Have you done any projects, or are you're still pursuing it?
I'm still pursuing it. I haven't done any major projects. I've just done a lot of stuff in class.
You you
So
are you interested in voice work?
yeah, possibly.
I'll keep you in mind.
Sure.
Because I ain't gonna lie, that's something I want to do. I'm actually about to take a voiceover class. I just got one of those. It's fortuitous, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes how these signs happen. Like I got one of these little college flyers, doing spring classes and
Yeah.
all that. I decided to flip through it, and I wanted to do voiceovers ever since I heard. Well, I wanted to do voiceovers since it dawned on me that I could be a Batman character. So I've always wanted to be in a Batman
Uh,
cartoon. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to be Batman. I could be Thug
yeah.
A that gets kicked in the chest by Batman. I'm all right with that. But I want that
Yeah,
sound. And, so it is something that I definitely want to do. And I'm going to take a class on it because,
that's wonderful.
yeah, man, practice makes perfect till you make perfect practice.
Yes.
So now, what's your favorite? What's one of your favorite movies? What are your favorite movies? What type of movies do you want to do? You want to do drama, comedy? Like, what is your forte, as they say?
So, I don't want to put myself in a box. I
Fair,
don't think that there isn't, I don't want to feel like there isn't any particular genre that I, couldn't pursue.
nice.
Um, I I want to do everything. Like I want to do drama, I want to do comedy. Um, I'd love to be in a Marvel movie someday. Actually, I tell myself all the time that I'm going to be
You could
in
be
in
Miss
a movie
Marvel.
someday.
You could be the new Miss Marvel. She is of Middle Eastern descent. I don't remember exactly which one, but
She's she's from Pakistan, and
oh, hey, look at
her
that,
name is Kamala.
Kamala.
Uh, they actually just casted for her. But it's okay. You know, I think what's wonderful about Marvel is uh you know, I felt down at one time because I was just like, oh, you know, they don't really have like a lot of like South Asian characters
Right.
per se, which
Right.
they do actually. If you do research, there's a lot of really cool characters.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I had a friend that I was speaking to, and she was just like, you know, there are so many characters that it, you know, it doesn't even matter
Right.
like the background, like, you know, because you look at Zoe Saldana, you know, with like the
Right.
makeup and stuff like that.
Right.
Like you don't know, you know,
Right.
and uh so that actually gave me so much hope because I felt like in the beginning, you know, when I started kind of thinking about it, I was just like, oh, you know, I wonder if I could ever be in Marvel. And then I was like, oh, but they don't have a lot of characters. And then now I'm kind of just like, oh my God, they have infinite
They got
characters. And
infinite characters, man. You know, you can't see me in my office right now because of the camera set, but there's mad comic book stuff here. If you remember my desk, how it used to be,
yeah.
all those figures they're sitting on my wall right above me.
That's
Still got
super
them. I
cool.
won't throw nothing away. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, man, that's dope. That's dope.
Yeah,
And
I'm a huge fan for sure.
so is this what CrossFit is about? You trying to fit into the uniform? You trying to make sure you're ready when they call? Is that what it is?
Absolutely. You have to be ready for anything at any given time. No, CrossFit, once again, I got into it about um 5 years ago now when I
Mhm.
moved to California. I was very unhealthy before then. You know, I unhealthy in the sense that I never worked out. So,
Okay.
you know, I was super lean and I was just like, I'm fine. Like I'm not gaining weight, like I'm totally fine.
Right.
But I was at a restaurant job that I was doing a while ago where I was carrying a lot of heavy things.
Mm-hmm.
But I never did any kind of work to like actually support myself and be able to do that. And so I ended up with two herniated discs in my neck.
Nice.
And that was painful and kind of put me down this spiral where I was getting physical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes like a mental aspect of it because it was like there were little things that I couldn't do. You know, I would try to do laundry. I couldn't do it on my own. Like I needed help getting groceries and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I am too young to be going through this right now, you
Right.
know? And again, it wasn't anything on purpose. It happened over time. And so I was just like, I want to try something. And so my partner uh recently at that time started doing CrossFit. And so he kept like showing me videos, kept like talking about it and all this other stuff. And I was like, you know, and he was like, give it a try. If you don't like it, then you don't have to do it. You do whatever you want to do. And I was like, okay. I gave it a try and I was just like, I love this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love everything about it. Um, and just to see so many women that were lifting weights.
Mm-hmm.
Not something I grew up with in the South Asian community. Not a lot of people work out. I don't have anyone in my family, you know, from the women's side that I've ever seen work out.
Right.
So all of the sudden, this like sparked this interest in me that I was like, oh wow, like I could possibly potentially lift like that much weight or whatever. And so just slow and steady, just kept going at it, kept working out and, you know, tried to work on my diet and, you know, all of that stuff. And so, yeah, I would say now it's been about like 3 full years of doing CrossFit on and off.
Nice. Do you
And, you know, especially
do you incorporate anything else besides that? Swimming, car, some form of other form of cardio, boxing, any martial arts, anything like that?
um I have interest in trying boxing, martial arts, all of that. I haven't done it yet. I was because of my herniated disc, I was swimming to
Okay.
begin with.
Okay.
So I was doing swimming and CrossFit, and I didn't know how to swim.
Huh.
And I went to the pool every single day for 3 months, taught myself how to swim in a 3 feet pool where I almost drowned many times.
I could have taught
But
you. I could have taught you how to swim in one session, and I'd have taught you the same way my auntie Bibby taught me. And Aunt Betty no, she didn't push me in, but she damn sure lured me to the deep end of the pool. And then
Oh my
she
goodness.
said to me, "Okay, tread water for 10 minutes." I'm like, "What? I'm 10 years old." She says, "Tread water for 10 minutes." And
Oh
then
my
she
God.
proceeds to leave me there, swim out herself, get out the pool, and time me on her little watch. And I'm sitting there treading water. And I remember saying, "I can't do this." I kept saying, I can't. And she kept saying to me, "Well, you're doing it. Look at you like you're doing it. So stop saying you can't do it like you're doing it."
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there treading water, and I'm 10 years. I go under a couple times, and all I hear her say is, "Up, you better come on back up, push." And I'm like, "It's water. How do you push?" She's like, and then I hear her over the water. She's like, "Cup your hands and push." And I'm like, "Okay." And pushed myself straight back up. And I'm like, "Oh shit, like, all right, this works." So I'm treading water. And sure enough, when that 10 minutes stopped, I doggy paddled to the damn ladder. I dragged my tired 10-year-old chubby ass up them steps. I laid flat on the ground. She's like, "You okay?" I'm like, she's like, you did it, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay. You can swim. Go ahead. You're fine now." She's like, "As long as you can tread water, you'll never drown. Go about your business." I'm like, "Wait, that's it?" She's like, "Listen, I did synchronized swimming. I know how to do it. Just do it. Just trust me." And that initial fear that you have of swimming and going deep and then doing all that went away instantly. I'm diving up the diving board in the next 5 minutes once I got my breath back. But that's how she taught me, and I can swim. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I definitely needed her. But yeah, I just, it's I think swimming is so therapeutic, like once you learn it. And
Mhm.
it's one of the best things right now, with quarantine and COVID and everything, definitely haven't been able to do any kind of swimming whatsoever.
Yeah.
But at some point, I
But then
definitely want to
again,
get back to it.
you live in Wyoming. Isn't that the land of 1,000 lakes or some shit? Isn't that what that is? What is Wyoming?
There's also snow outside.
Oh man, you'll be all right. It's only a little cold. You'll be good. You got remember, you still got a
No,
little New York in you. You'll be all
I
right.
am cold all the time. Uh,
Really?
I'm cold
Are
all
you
the time.
anemic or
Like,
is that
no,
no? You're just
no,
cold.
I'm
So
yeah, like I will say like my body isn't physically cold, but my feet and my hands are always cold.
so maybe you're
Like
not getting enough circulation there.
possibly, but
Yoga.
I think over, yeah, like I'd say like overall, knock on wood, like I'm pretty healthy. But just yeah, like it's like doing more mobility and all of that stuff will probably help. But just all my life, I've just
How are your
always
discs now?
they're good.
They're good.
They're
No
good.
trouble. You
Yeah.
got movement. So
Yeah,
then,
nothing. I'm the healthiest and the strongest I've ever been, and I'm super thankful, to, like I said, CrossFit and swimming and mobility and all of that stuff, and just being patient with myself and not being like, oh, I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna go and lift a bunch of weight and hurt myself again. Like I
do
don't,
jujitsu, yo.
yeah.
Just do
Yeah.
jujitsu. You be all right. You be all right.
I do wanna learn like, self-defense, like karate and like martial arts. Like it's very I think it would be very
Mhm.
beneficial,
Well,
to learn.
yeah. Well, I think every young lady should know self defense. I think there are many martial arts that you could do. One of the best things I would recommend is this book. I can't remember the author's name right now, but it's a book called
Mhm.
Breathe. It recently
Mhm.
came out, but it's
Yeah.
all about first and foremost how to breathe and how we breathe incorrectly, and how that like how you're like your nose is the only thing really connected to your lungs.
I'm pretty sure I have that book,
You do?
actually. Yeah.
I was watching him
Uh,
I was watching the author on the Joe Rogan podcast, and it was so
yeah.
interesting to me And then I think about Hoist Gracie and the way he breathes and everything. Like if you ever seen The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, the guy that's
Yeah.
sitting there meditating and he's doing all this crazy breathing, you can see that's Hoist Gracie. That's one. He's one of the innovators of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu,
Yeah.
and his breathing is one of the most important aspects of it. And I see that I'm doing the Matrix thing here. Where my mouth is moving faster than my voice.
That's just Zoom. That's just, you know, how it is sometimes. So
if it continues and gets worse, we'll cut to commercial and we'll come back.
Sounds good.
But
I do have to actually look. I don't know where it is, but I think I have that book. It's on my list to read it, and I think I got it at one point when I was singing and taking vocal lessons. My vocal instructor asked me to read the book to like get like a better understanding of like how breathing works. And yeah, so I have it somewhere, and you know.
Yeah, and then I would say they say sauna is good, like heat to battle inflammation. And then then there's just the mental aspects, everything that, you know, mental is everything. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie, I have not tried it. I want to try it. I want to try shrooms. I want to try DMT. I want to try LSD. I want to try it. I already smoke weed, so that's already a mind expanding element. But I want to try the other things just to see what happens. I tried Salvia, didn't like that. That was weird. Planet Earth ate me. Didn't enjoy that.
I will be honest, I don't even know that I know what that is.
All right, salvia is a psychedelic root. Like it's a plant. Yeah, it's a plant, but it comes from a root. You know what I'm saying? And it's ground up. You can smoke it. You can make it out of tea or whatever. It's almost like a peyote, almost sort of thing. But what happened is I took it, and then I went into the trip, and the earth was yelling at me, telling me it was all my fault, and then it was eating me with giant skyscraper teeth. Now, this was
my goodness,
2 weeks before I went on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and it scared the living shit out of me. But over time, as I've gotten off the fluoride and I started thinking about it, I realized that the earth wasn't yelling at me personally. I was just the only one on the same wavelength that could hear it at the time. I was getting it all from Earth by proxy. It was telling me, like, yo, you humans are pissing me the fuck off. You need to stop your shit. I listened to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I realize now I was just the only one that could hear it. The Earth has been screaming and calling out to us. But I was on the wavelength that could hear it. And I think that's a very important thing. You know what I'm saying? It's really interesting. So and DMT is something that is produced by your pineal gland. I don't know what type of toothpaste you use, but if it has fluoride in it, stop. Fluoride is a neurotoxin with the same level of neurotoxicity as mercury and arsenic. Yeah, what it does is it solidifies, it calcifies the pineal gland. The pineal gland allows the flow of serotonin and DMT, dimethyltryptamine, throughout your cerebral cortex. You know what I'm saying? The pineal gland, that's that third eye chakra. So you open that back up, and you'd be amazed at things you can find. But fluoride is, but if you but then I look at it on a deeper level. Where do they fluoridate the water the most? Urban communities where our people dwell.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's, is there an inherent fight to try and make us dull-witted and slow? I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I also don't want to say like, hey, writing's on the wall here, So something to look into, but
yeah, for sure. I mean, I will say that, I think that for me, like, I've never, really, I mean, I have tried, like, DMT, and, like, I have tried, like, LSD, and, like, I have tried, like, DMT, and, like, I have tried, like, LSD, and, like, I have tried, like, DMT, and, like, I have tried, like, LSD, and, like, I have tried, like, DMT, and, like, I have tried, like, LSD, and, like, I have tried, like, DMT, and, like, I have tried, like, LSD, and, like, I have tried, like, DMT, and, like, I have tried, like, LSD, and, like, I have tried, like, DMT, and, like, I have tried, like, LSD, and, like, I have tried, like, DMT, and, like, I have tried, like, LSD, and, like, I have tried, like, DMT, and, like, I have tried, like, LSD, and, like, I have tried, like, DMT, and, like, I have tried, like, LSD, and, like, I have tried, like, DMT, and, like, I have tried, like, LSD, and, like, I have tried, like, DMT, and, like, I have tried, like, LSD, and, like, I really gotten into doing anything, like even smoking weed or anything. I feel like I can count with my hand like how many times I've done it.
You lived in
um
California. You had some of the best at your disposal.
yeah, I just think, like, for me, like, I've always been a person that I'm just like, I don't ever want to rely on anything in particular to have like a certain mindset or anything like that, I feel like I'm always trying to hear my own voice.
Hmm.
And so for me, I feel like I find myself always being like, okay, like, what can I do to hear my own voice? And so, like, I'll do things like meditate or,
Hmm.
journal, or like wake up at 3:30 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning,
Every day.
and,
Every
and
day.
um,
3:30.
every day.
Every day. And
Yeah.
doesn't matter what time I go
So,
to sleep. 3:30.
yeah. Yeah, I find myself like going in and out of like that time frame where it's like I wake up 3:30, 4:30 in the morning, and then there are periods of time where I'm like I cannot wake up early, and I just feel like I need to like hibernate and just sleep for as long as I can. I feel like that's moments when my body's sort of like processing something.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, so it's like, like you said, a lot of the things you were saying, I'm like, I don't even know.
Well,
Like,
well, all right. You know what your circadian rhythms are, right? All right, your circadian
mm,
rhythms are like based, as far as my understanding of it, anyway. And I'm a moron, so don't worry about it to some degree. I'm really smart, but there are some things I
yeah,
don't know everything. But to my
yeah.
understanding, it's sort of like what regulates your sleep patterns. You know what I'm saying? If you could Google
Mm.
that for me, Vega, I'd appreciate it. What your circadian rhythms do? Circadian, circadian. Um, but they kind of regulate your sleep patterns and energies
Yeah,
and things. Have you ever tried a sensory deprivation tank?
I have not. No.
It's you like sit in like it's an enclosed tank and you're sitting in
Hmm.
like suspended in like salt water. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? But
yeah.
it's just you and your own thoughts. There's no sound from outside. It's just you and your thoughts. It's a hell of an experience. Yeah.
Is that something where like, sorry, I thought I heard him talk.
No, what'd you say?
I was just gonna chime in: the circadian rhythm, the natural cycle of physical, mental, and behavior changes that the body goes through in a 24-hour cycle. Circadian rhythms are mostly affected by light and darkness and are controlled by a small area in the middle of the brain.
Okay.
Mm.
See? Learn something new every day.
um uh no, I have not tried that. And it makes me curious, is that something like where you like, if someone has like claustrophobia or something like that, like, is that something that would like bother them?
Probably. Yes, I would believe
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
could believe that. Yeah, I could definitely believe that. I could definitely see that being a problem for them. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see I'm always open to trying things. I definitely don't like enclosed
You're
spaces.
claustrophobic.
And
I was about to say, are you claustrophobic? Which would explain Wyoming a lot more now.
Not fully, but definitely a little bit. I think that I definitely don't like small spaces, for sure. I feel like I need a lot of space and air and a lot of air.
I understand. Yeah, no, I get you. I'd say I have the same problem. I don't. It's funny. I used to leave when we worked on at Ages when we worked on Wall Street. I would leave work sometimes. And, I lived in Queens. If I jumped on the J
Yeah.
train, boom, I'm home. But there were many nights I just did not feel like being in anything at the time. You know what I'm saying? So I
Mm.
would walk to like 34th Street and catch the train. you know, but
Yeah.
yeah, I understand that. I understand
I
that.
think, again, going back to New York City is very walkable. And I think that, most of my life I spent walking. Even in Queens, like you can go from one train station to another. Like you can just keep walking if you felt like it. So I totally get that, for sure. Like I used to do a lot of walking in New York City. And even now, like, being in Wyoming, you definitely have to drive
Yeah.
to go to a lot of places. But like every once in a while, I find myself being like, I just want to walk for,
Do you have
hours or something.
pets?
I don't. No, no
No,
pets.
no pets, no kids, none of that.
No.
She's
Mm-mm.
like, no. Said that so quick.
uh,
No.
no, someday I definitely want children. But for now, I have my nieces and love them very much. And so that definitely keeps me going for now.
Now, that's that's awesome because I have the same thing, nieces and nephews. I don't have any kids. I'll be 40 in 2 years, and I don't have any kids. Or next year. Damn.
Yeah.
Shit, I gotta get on it. I gotta get on it, man. Ladies, if you're watching, I'm single and other stuff. But no, now a lot of the stuff you post on Facebook, it also deals with growth and gaining strength from past traumas and tragedy.
Hmm.
As a creative soul, I think, especially as an artist, a lot of artists are fueled by pain and tragedy.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't want to I don't want you to go into super detail, but could you kind of
Yeah.
tell us a little of what you may have experienced, if at all possible?
Yeah. For me, um, my childhood was like, it was a very rough childhood. I was sexually abused
Hmm.
for many years of my childhood. And, from there, the mental, psychological, emotional trauma that, that you go through, you never really think about that, right? Like, it's not like we're sitting around being like, oh, at age 7, this is
Yeah.
the trauma that I dealt with.
Yeah.
But what happens is that when those traumas, those things happen, it is stored in your body in different places, and it is stored in the back of your mind. You have like multiple walls and all of these things that you put up. And so for me, I think that's why maybe New York City is never home per se, because I felt like it was a place where I had all these walls up
Mhm.
all the time. And I felt like I just kept going around in these cycles over and over and over again. And I never really questioned anything, like until I got to a point where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this can't be it. Like, this can't be life. Like, there has to be more to it,
Right. Right.
And so for me, again, it was about 5, 6 years ago, right before I left New York City. When I moved to California, I lost a lot of friendships because I started questioning myself.
Mm-hmm.
I started questioning my behaviors. I started questioning the types of friendships I have, the boundaries that I have or lack thereof. And so once I started setting boundaries, once I started meditating and caring about my health and wanting to grow, that's when I realized that like I started losing a lot of friendships. And, you know, um, I all of the sudden I'm like, sometimes people see me as very problematic because I question everything.
Mm-hmm.
I always have a why. And even recently, actually, there's this therapist on Instagram that I follow. Can't remember his name right now. I think it's Maston. But he recently even said, it's like the question why. We're always told like don't ask questions, but like why is one of the biggest questions that you can ask yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
those are the things that'll really help you grow. So mentally, whether it's working out, whether it's getting in, doing acting, whether it's meditating or dancing, whatever it is, I find myself growing through that. And so I like writing about those processes, and I like writing about the things that I think about because, coming from a South Asian community, people don't talk about it.
Right.
Everything is always on the hush. Uh, don't talk about sexual abuse, don't talk about physical abuse, don't talk about harassment, because all of those things, what will people say?
Right. And that's not
And
just your community. That's not just the South Asian community. That's
exactly.
Black community.
Yes,
That's all
exactly.
communities, man. We always know that weird uncle, you know what I mean? Or auntie,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
that it's like, yeah, go hug them, and you're like, yeah, but I don't want to. Which that, goes back to the which that goes back to the intuition and instincts of
Mm-hmm.
children. Children know, they can feel things. They
Yes.
know that it's like, that person feels weird, but it's
Mm-hmm.
the adults that are around, it's the people that are around, that the guidance, you don't get it because they're just like, no, be quiet, or don't
Right.
say this, or
Right.
don't say that. And then it puts you in this position where, from when you're young, you question your own instincts, you question your own intuition. So as adults, when you're like, hey, this feels off, you sit around and you're like, no, I'm going to do it anyway because there's no way that I could potentially be right?
Right.
And I find myself, that's the journey that I'm on right now, is questioning all of the things that I've been taught, questioning the generational traumas,
Mm-hmm.
um, questioning my instincts, not questioning my instincts, more so listening to my instincts.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you see, when you see the my post that I'm putting up, it's really like well thought out. Like it'll be a well thought out
Yeah.
post, but that post probably took me like 3-4 months of like self discovery or whatever to get there. And I'm definitely working on my writing abilities. I haven't always written how I feel, and so I know that I have a growth and a learning curve, um in learning of like how to deliver a message, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I feel like a lot of the things that I put up is very raw, it's very emotional,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of don't care. Like, I just put it because I'm just like, I this is what I want. Like, I want people to be open
Yeah.
about the traumas and the things that you've been through, because believe it or not, so many people have been through some sort of abuse, one form or another, and because so many of us have been told to just keep it quiet, we all kind of think we're alone, and we're not. It's a sad thing to be united in, but knowing that like you're not the only one, it gives you a power to be like, oh, maybe I could speak of it, and
Mm-hmm.
how can I be a part of the change to prevent this kind of stuff, in the
Yeah.
future. Yeah.
You are, I think what your ultimate outlet is going to be, you're going to write a story that you're going to work into a screenplay based on your experiences, but you're going to turn the protagonist into the ultimate revenge story.
Oh my
Everything you
goodness.
went to. I would watch that. Have you ever seen the movie I
Honestly,
Spit on Their Grave? I love that movie because she kills the shit out of them. Like,
I
they
have
hurt
not, but
her,
I would.
she gets them back. I love
Oh my
it.
God. Honestly, like it's funny you say that, because I speak to, whether it's my friends, family, and so many people over time have said, like, if you could even take like one chapter from your life,
Mhm.
you can write like an entire like script, like movies, and all of this
A whole
stuff. And
anthology series of
exactly.
stuff.
And honestly, it's true. And it's something that I recently actually wrote as well. And I'm sure I've heard it somewhere or something, but it's very true that, it's, if you don't see the representation,
Mhm.
then you need to be a part of that change to make that happen.
Yep.
So, growing up, I felt like, well, I didn't see a lot of South Asian actresses or actors,
Right.
in Hollywood, and because obviously there's so many in Bollywood, and
Well, yeah.
which Well, even then, I would say that I didn't really see representation of where I come from,
Right.
because, even in Bollywood, it's very whitewashed, and you have
Mm-hmm.
people that are, again, fairness creams and all this other stuff.
Right.
So
Right.
there's issues everywhere.
Yeah.
But, growing up, I didn't really see a lot of South Asian actresses. So, like, of course, it's something that's so hard for me to fathom that, like, of course, this is what I could do this.
Right.
If I wanted to, I could be this, because you don't see that often. And you have Priyanka Chopra, who has done so much, for the South Asian community, and it gives you hope. It gives you hope, and I think that there's so much space, and we just need to create it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just kind of where I'm at. It's like I'm with my acting and everything. I'm so fascinated by the possibilities that aren't even there yet,
Right.
and so I have so much to say,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't even begun to write my sentences yet. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm just like so excited by like what I could potentially do if I just keep believing in myself.
I love the way you phrased that. I love the way you phrased that. You know what I'm saying? Because words are weapons. And if they are wielded wisely, you can shatter souls or open spirits. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's weird to say, but we cast spells every time we open our mouth. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
manifestations and all that. Like you can speak these things into existence, but you have to be willing to recognize the energies you need to grab them out of the twilight, if so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
that's a
Absolutely.
very great way to phrase that. I ain't gonna lie, and it's a lesson. I think I'm gonna put it up here somewhere on my wall. If you remove those curse words out of your vocabulary, can't. You know what I'm saying? Won't. You know what I'm saying? Like you remove those types of things, those spirit diminishing words from your
Yeah.
vocabulary, you'd be surprised at how far you could go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then if you keep an open and discerning mind and heart, you go even further. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like attracts like and energies and all that. You know what I'm saying? But I also find that in our communities, like you said, we're not taught, or we don't really get the opportunity to be like, no, they're gross. I don't want to be near. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
We're always taught to shut the fuck up. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Just shut the fuck up. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing about that to nobody. Whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But we're coming to a better time where I realized that a lot of the stuff we did learn, what they consider traditions, are bullshit and based on bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like
For sure.
I think about what you say about representation. I didn't learn about Mansa Musa and Shaka Zulu and all that in school. I learned about them when I became an adult and took the time to really. I didn't know who the Moors was. I didn't know the lineage of all peoples. I didn't know that everybody on planet Earth, every human, is basically a descendant of Africa. Like I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
mean, you might have had the idea, but as you gain more knowledge, you realize like, yo, there's so much connection between us, but the little things they put in place, the systems that put in place to keep us separated are always there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Yeah.
how do you overcome that, especially as coming from a South Asian community where you don't get much representation, you don't always have a voice. How do we go about changing that?
So what I kind of think is happening globally is an awakening.
Mm,
And it doesn't matter whether you're South Asian, whether you're African, whether you're Korean, whatever. I think that there is a global awakening happening where people are realizing that there's much more uh going on than we know. And
right,
like you said, there's so much that you didn't learn in school. Like I recently learned about the Tulsa Massacre. You
right,
know what I mean? And when you read about these things, one, sadly, you're like, of course this happened. And then the other thing is, it's a learning moment, and you get to choose whether you want to be empathetic,
Mm-hmm.
or if you want to just be apathetic in a sense,
Ignore it.
and exactly.
Yeah.
And so for me, I feel like how I want to go about changes in this world is being honest about it,
Mm-hmm.
because how do you grow, right? As a person, if you do something wrong, but you never say, like, okay, I did this thing wrong, did you really grow from that? Did you learn anything from that? So, whatever it is that comes our way, I feel like the only way to really truly lead is with truth.
Mm.
So this is my truth. This is where I've come from. These are the lessons that I've learned, and I'm going to take these lessons and I'm going to build upon that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to lie about it. Especially like I said, I mentioned generational trauma before,
Mm-hmm.
and to me, I I feel like where I'm standing right now, I get to be that guard that says no more.
Right.
That I get to be that person that's like, I'm not going to let this trauma continue past me.
Right.
So, what work am I going to do on myself to be, the best version of myself, And so, I feel like I lost myself a little bit with the
Yeah.
question you asked.
It happens. No, it's okay, man. Listen,
But if you don't mind just asking your question again.
No, well, basically, what I was wondering is what changes can we make as
Mhm,
just a society? I guess not even just beyond just a society.
mhm,
Each individual here, if we are indeed a community, and it doesn't matter what state you live in, what political crap you support,
yeah,
like none of those things matter. What matters is that we come together to represent that those of us who are disenfranchised or have
mm,
no voice
mhm,
gain one.
yes.
How do we change the narrative of what is to what it should be? Like, when do we say enough is enough? Fuck all you old assholes who are running this shit. Like, y'all, we're tired of you dumbasses. Everything you're doing is fucked up. Like, when do we
Yeah.
just get tired of the bullshit and be like, you know what? We need to take y'all outside, just beat your ass and show you what it is.
So now I know why I went down the tangent. So what I was trying to get back to, so you said, how do we, make that change,
Right.
in society? So in order to make the changes in society, you have to individually change,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you have to change yourself. And that's why I was saying the generational trauma. So it's like working on getting to know why you are the way you are,
Mm-hmm.
why you behave the way you do. And when you can be honest with who you are, then you can listen to someone else.
Right.
So if someone is telling me that, like, hey, I had this experience with racism today, I have two choices I can make. I can either be like, okay, well, let me ignore you and tell you about me,
Right.
or I can sit there and be like, you know what? I believe you. I'm listening to your story, and now I'm going to be a part of that change with you. And
Mm.
I think that's kind of sort of what's happening in the world right now. I feel like there's a lot of people that have never experienced racism, that have never experienced sexism, that have never really that are very privileged,
May,
and they
may
go
I
ahead.
ask you what may seem like a controversial question?
Yeah.
What do you feel about the concept of believe all women? You know what I'm saying? When it comes to like things of sexual assault and things of that nature,
Hmm.
I don't think that's a healthy attitude to have because
Yeah.
a lot of people do lie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
you should just blanket believe all women or believe all men for that matter. Like I don't think to
Yeah.
believe everybody is the right thing because not everybody is being honest.
Yeah, so I do think that, we don't, we live in a world where it's not so black and white.
Mm-hmm.
So if you say, believe all women or believe all men, like I feel like those are just like sort of blanket statements.
Mm-hmm.
What I do believe in is uh being a person that was sexually abused, that I come from that. One of the things that I can say is I have never met a survivor or anyone that has ever been abused that wants to openly just like talk about those things and
Mhm.
embarrass themselves because it's traumatic.
Right.
Like you're essentially reliving that in that moment over again when you're talking
Hmm.
about it or whatever it is.
Right.
And a person with a genuine heart who has been abused will know like what that kind of would feel like if someone ever said some kind of lie like that. And
Right.
so I would like to believe in having hope and giving a person a chance.
Right.
I think that we live in a world because we've been taught so much to be quiet. In
Hmm.
a sense, we've also been like, don't believe them. And so I
I,
think that there's,
I don't know if I'd say don't believe them is what I've been taught or
yeah,
anything like that, but what I've always been taught is just listen. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And kind of, and if you listen to somebody, you, generally, especially when they start talking of things of this nature, because I ain't gonna lie, unfortunately I do know a number of young ladies who have had to survive sexual assault. It
hmm,
sucks. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But I also know a few young ladies who will say that they were, and they definitely were not. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
And that just, again, that goes back to like whatever emotional trauma or whatever it is that they're going through, that they feel the need to do
Mhm.
something as unbelievable as that. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right,
So there's some sort of issue that's underlying issue that's
right.
there.
Okay.
So how I feel that I would kind of go with something is, again, listening to your instincts.
Mhm.
When someone is talking to you and telling you, something that's happened to them, um, I would say the first thing to do would just be to listen.
Right.
And you can I feel like you can very well identify a lot of things if you really listen first.
Oh
And
yeah.
the other thing I really believe is one way or another the truth always comes out.
Yes, indeed.
And when the truth comes out, then it will come back to haunt you for what you've done,
Right.
because if you're just out there, you know, um, blaming someone and saying they did something to you, yet they never did anything to you, that's a horrible, horrible thing to
Right.
do, and it's going to come back to you.
Right.
I just, the amount of survivors that I know, and even me personally, like, I just could never think of doing something like that. You know what I mean? And so it is a very difficult question of being like, do you believe everyone?
Mhm.
Because I personally, my motto in life is like, you believe and trust in someone until they break that trust.
Right.
And it goes back to how you communicate. Like I said, one way or another it'll come out,
Right.
if you're lying about something. And it does suck, because there are people out there that do things like that. Like I recently saw someone that is just terrible, but this woman wanted to raise money for her wedding, so she created a GoFundMe saying she had cancer. And people were giving money, and it's like, how could you do something like that? Because cancer is not a joke,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So I will say that I think that it's a very difficult question to answer,
That's fair.
because I don't know that there's a right or wrong way to answer that. You would hope that people are honest and are
Mhm.
truthful, and that the pain of talking about
Right.
sexual abuse, those things are so traumatic. So like, what is happening underneath
Well,
that you're in that mental space to
right.
create those stories?
I ain't gonna lie. I think the ones I do certainly believe more often than not are children, because kids don't want to lie about that sort of thing. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I think kids, but that's a different animal entirely. What I mean, when you deal with
yeah.
children, as a actress, what do you think of this cancel culture that's been going around, where you're not allowed to make jokes, you're not allowed to basically be yourself anymore. You got to watch everything you say. And that doesn't work for me.
I again, it goes back to like, I recently read this somewhere, but pretty much it's like, people prefer actors that are 90% of the time themselves
Hmm.
versus people that are actors
Hmm.
90% of the time.
Right. I get
So
that.
I think it all goes back to again like just being uh honest people with good heart. Like there will be people that will say the wrong thing at the wrong time,
Hmm.
and and that's not their intention,
Right.
but that is the way that it came across. Like
Hmm.
those kind of things will happen. But I think it depends on
The
the
situation.
accountability.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the accountability, the situation, the
Right.
intention. Are you able to, as a person, say, hey, that was not my intention. I have learned from this. And then it goes back to whether you're willing to be like, hey, let me give this person a chance
Right.
to prove that what they're saying is what they really mean.
Well, like,
So,
not only that, but like, I think it's wrong to take something that a person said 5 years, 5 months, 5 days ago as
mhm,
gospel on their entire being. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
people say random dumb shit in emotional times. People could be angry. You know what I'm saying? But you should never
mhm,
be held to over the fire for things that you may have thought in your past, or especially if you've learned from that and moved forward,
yeah,
like, yo, you know what, I was kind of stupid and ignorant back then. I didn't, what I mean,
yeah,
we all have times like that. I know for a fact I was a fucking idiot. So you know what I'm saying? I know this for a fact.
yeah,
I was a
yeah,
moron, like, you know what I mean? And I was not a kind person. I was not a nice person. But I had my own issues and pain and everything that was the manifestation of that. Like, I
yeah.
I acted out in that way because I was hurt, you know what I'm saying, from things and everything. And it wasn't until I really learned how to do that Elsa shit, let it go, that I was able to be like, all right, you know what? Nothing's that
Yeah.
important. You know what I'm saying?
But
Like,
it is exactly what you're doing right now is that, you're sitting there being like, "Hey, I did say stupid shit in the back,
mhm,
back then, or, I did behave a certain way, but it's because of this, and that." I
right,
think that's the accountability
right,
that people want to see, and that's the honest truth that people want to see. I do think that there are a lot of people that do things, and whether it's privilege or whether it is that, they know that they can get away with it or whatever it is, they're not really sorry for the thing that they did, but more so that they're sorry for getting caught.
right,
That's the
right,
difference,
right.
versus like someone that's like, I'm genuinely like upset, and that this actually hurts me on a personal level as well, that that I could be foolish enough to say something like that, and that I
Mhm.
have learned or whatever else. I don't believe in just like canceling, without like giving an opportunity to see
Mhm.
if they've learned, and I think that's the difference, because people are going to make mistakes. I wasn't always a perfect person, and I don't think that anyone out there really truly is,
Right.
because we all have our own stuff to deal with, and we have things that we need to grow from. So I think it all depends on just who. um I don't think that it depends on who you were in the past, because I think that people definitely change. You can have one conversation, and there's this African American gentleman that actually goes around and speaks to KKK members.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. Oh man, Daryl Davis.
yeah,
Daryl
and so
Davis,
it's
my
like,
dude.
and he's changed so many lives, right? Because he's actually having conversations, he's having impact, and then all of a sudden someone's like, wow, I was doing all this stuff before and I should have never done that. You know what I mean? So does that person deserve to be canceled forever? No, if they're actually learning from what's happening now
Right,
in life.
right.
I will say that I have a very strong stance on sexual abuse,
Hmm.
and a very strong stance on like, harassment and
Right.
stuff like that. Like those are things that I'm just like, no, if you can go to the point where you can cross that many boundaries, then there's something not okay there.
Right.
And I probably wouldn't have as much empathy or sympathy towards someone like that, you know?
Yet another reason why I'm a believer that every young lady should know self-defense. And maybe own a gun, learn how to shoot it, you know what I'm saying? You know, learn some knife fight, something, you know, just protect yourself. That's all I ask.
Or we can, you know, continue a generation where we actually teach both our boys and our girls how to respect each other. And so in the future, hopefully it's a future of like that kind of stuff doesn't happen, because
that's the ideal, but we all know that there are humans out there that suck and they're teaching their kids wrong shit, and or their kids are seeing, because you know I firmly believe that children learn more from what they see you do as opposed to what you tell them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So your actions speak louder than your words all the time. So if you're a piece of shit, your kids are probably going to be pieces of shit. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to follow right behind you, unless, and because this is one of those things I think, right? Everybody's a bully until the bully gets punched in the face.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it also depends on sometimes what you see is not what you want.
Right.
And I can say for myself personally, I had a shitty dad.
Right.
And like so much so, like I don't even consider him, you know, a dad. And so his actions I saw, and it's just not something that I ever want to repeat or do. So for me, I also learned from that. So there are kids that even learn from where they've come from, and they think like, okay, this is just not what I want.
Right.
And I don't know where that comes from, because I've actually had many people that have asked me throughout my life, like, you know, where did this change come from? Like, you know, who taught you, like, what did you see that made you want to go in a different route? And all I can say is it was my instincts.
Right.
It was my intuition. It was a voice in my head that was just like, this is the route you need to go down. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's also, you know, very much a possibility.
Hey, but you know what? But you have done it. But you also recognize that it's not something that you ever get over. It's a daily cycle and structure of making, you know, dealing with it. It's not something that ever goes away. You deal with it forever, but being cognizant of that allows you to be honest about it. And I think we'd all be a lot better off if we were all just more honest about these things. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, it would certainly help. Like, I imagine that if you have children, you know what I'm saying, or when you have children and you have a daughter, you would, I would think, and maybe this is just the idealist in me, but I would think that you would tell your daughter the things you went through, the things you experienced, so as to teach her and how to recognize these different things, and you know what I'm saying, how to avoid them and how to keep herself safe. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I think that, you know, for me personally, I already know that from a young age, I'm going to teach my children, whether it's a boy or a girl, I'm going to teach them that they are heard.
Right.
And that, you know, the things that they're saying, that I'm listening to it and that I believe them. You know, I think that's something that so many of us deal with, you know, whether it is that you come from abuse, you know, like sexual abuse or whatever, there are so many people that just come from mental abuse.
Right. Right.
And that they don't.
Yeah, it could be anything, and it could be something as simple. And I look at this idea all the time, or this concept, like when you tell a young boy stop crying like a girl. You know what I'm saying? Like you're actively teaching that young boy how not to process his emotions.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So then he becomes a grown man who doesn't know how to process his emotions.
Yep.
And then you get these assholes out here that make us good dudes look like shit.
Well, just like, you know, overall in life, like I feel like the thing is that, like, they say girls mature faster than boys. But then once we get older, then all of a sudden, you know, it's like oh, you don't have to respect those girls, and they don't get the positions in life that, even though they supposedly mature faster,
Right.
they're not getting the job title that they want. They're, so it's like, then
Well,
the younger girls are seeing that.
right, but
They're seeing that,
that's that traditional crap that I was talking about, because if we look at
Yeah.
it like how they used to,
Yeah.
the truth is, and especially when it comes to this religious stuff, once you can, especially as a young girl, your only goal in life through a lot of these things is to get married off, have a bunch of kids, and continue your bloodline. And that is
Yeah.
shitty, because the truth
Yeah.
is, once you have a period, you can have kids. So you could be married off at 11 years old, and you have to perform wifely duties. And that's bullshit to me.
Yeah.
To me, that's...
I mean, there are still many cultures in this world that are still dealing with, child brides and stuff like that.
right,
And it's
arranged
unacceptable for sure.
marriages
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all that type of shit. But like, guys are allowed to like do whatever they want throughout their entirety, and you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the wrong way to teach. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's why it really is on us to do the work.
Right.
Do our internal work. There are different levels of therapy that, people can go through to really understand themselves and understand the trauma, or, how the trauma is stored in the body, or whatever it is, There are so many different ways and avenues that you can take to really, truly understand that.
Right.
And that work is not easy. That work is so freaking hard. But if you're willing to put in that work to better understand yourself, then you understand the responsibility of when you have kids someday, like, what you want to teach them,
Right.
what you want to continue on. And again, that even goes with anyone right now, like whether they have kids or they don't. It's it's just, do you want to do the work? Do you want to put in that work, that hard work, to go through that? Because sometimes you have to relive the trauma.
Right.
Sometimes you have to go through all of that again,
Yeah, and I think it's important to speak about it honestly, because when you hold it in, you give it power. You know what I'm saying? Because there's power in silence, but there's also great power in speaking up. You know what I'm saying? And it can it's going to be difficult, and it will be traumatic, but you have to find someone that comes from a place of love and respect and empathy to share these things with. And if you can find that, you're golden,
And also that, the help is actually there, that the help is out there, but because it's just, mental health is this thing that people don't talk about a lot, in minority communities
at all.
And so
we're told to go to church.
So then it becomes this thing where it's like, we think that mental health is this thing that, like, you can't grasp, or it's so hard, or that there's not the help that you need out there.
Right.
But the truth is that it is out there, and the more we talk about it, and the more we can get that message out to other people. And like, I know in the South Asian community, interestingly enough, it's almost like, oh, if you're going to a therapist, it's because you're crazy.
Yeah.
Versus the understanding that, like, you're going to the therapist because you're trying to heal whatever it is, that the issue that you have.
Right.
Therapy
can be tricky. A lot of people don't believe in therapy. I ain't gonna lie. I think it's a good thing to talk to somebody, but whether it necessarily be a therapist or even your local bartender, because I think, I ain't gonna lie, I think people like that, just regular folk, have a lot of wisdom, and especially people who are in jobs like that, they speak to any and everybody. They gain a lot of wisdom in those professions. You know what I'm saying? So those are good people to talk to too, because and the objectivity of a stranger providing advice is a handy thing at times. You know what I'm saying? Because it allows you an unobstructed voice to something that you might be thinking, where somebody is going to tailor their answer to the idea that they know you. You know what I'm saying? Or they're going to try and spare your feelings. You know what I'm saying? An objective person, some stranger, they don't care about that. They don't know you. They're going to tell you the real.
Well, the only thing that I would say about that is like it's very interesting, and I believe in talking to people all the time. Like I
Mhm.
really do believe in having conversations with people and being honest and open about things
That's
for
why we're
sure.
here.
Yeah. The other thing that I will say is that, you know, therapy is sort of like a relationship. You have
Yeah.
to build at it. You have to really know yourself to recognize, like, you know, is this therapist working for me?
Right.
You
Right.
know, am I healing in the way that I need to? So, like, you know, for me, I've done talk therapy for a while, and I'm at a point in my life where I realize that talk therapy isn't necessarily really getting me all of the healing that I need. So for me, now the next step is somatic therapy,
Which
somatic
is
psychotherapy, which is body work,
okay.
which is like, so you know, there are different types of therapy where they work on releasing trauma from throughout your body,
Hmm.
because your body holds that trauma.
Right.
And so there are different types of therapy. And, you know, I will say, you know, I don't fully know all of them. You know, there's so many different types to try. And I'm on this journey where I'm going to try EDMR. I'm going to actually tell you exactly what that
Oh, thank you.
stands for.
All right.
EDMR.
Hold on. Can you give me one moment? I'm gonna pause this for 1 second because I
Yeah.
really need to use the restroom.
No worries.
I drank a boom. Okay.
Yes. So I think that I said EMDR. That's incorrect. It's actually sorry, I think I said EDMR. It's
Mhm.
actually EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Oh, nice.
And so it is a process in which, like, the person being treated is asked to recall like distressing images, and then like the therapist then redirects them. So like what I was told from my last therapist was basically that like you relive a memory, and then they take that memory, instead of you having it in the now, they sort of put it in your long-term memory. So it's like, you know, you're not having that visceral you know, bodily like feeling like you're going through that situation again. And there's like so many other different types of therapy.
Mhm.
And so I think like for me, that's like the next step. But I think that, you know, people should um, try it, you
Yeah.
know, and see like in general therapy, because, you know, one of the things that I'm always afraid of is like, you know, if like you said, you talk to like a stranger or a bartender or someone like that, like what if like you tell them something that like triggers something for them, and like
No.
they don't know how
Right.
to process it,
Hmm.
and then it's like just continuing that cycle, you know what I mean? And again, I really believe in talking to people and creating safe spaces to have conversations about um trauma in general, you know,
Right.
or just like emotionally how people feel.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you could just have a day where you're having a bad day, and it's completely okay to have those conversations. And you should have that circle in a sense where people create that space for you, and that you're able to create that space for them as well.
Right. I think
Yeah.
that's a very interesting thing. I've never even heard of that. So that's it's kind of cool because if you can release trauma,
Yeah.
and that is a very like that would come in very handy to a lot of people.
I
And
would I would research just somatic psychotherapy.
yeah, it's
And there's this book called Waking the Tiger by Peter Levine.
okay.
It's a book that my therapist just recommended for me to read, and I just started on it. So far, so good. And I think a lot of people could gain a lot of knowledge from it.
Have you ever tried hypnosis?
I have not. I
You
have
know what's
not.
funny? I learned hypnosis. I read a
Hmm.
book once. I got bored.
Yeah.
Read a book once. I got bored.
Yeah.
I never gave the book back to the library, but
You owe $1 million
oh
to
no, I
the
don't. I
public
donated the
library.
library like 150 books before I left New York. You know, so they're fine. I think we've balanced the budget on that one. We balanced the books,
Yeah.
but I found that
Yeah.
hypnosis was very interesting to me because it allows you to tap into your subconscious mind. And I think that your
Hmm.
subconscious mind is and this is going to go into a hell of a realm here, but I don't know if you know anything about multiversal theory and things like that. All right, so the multiversal theory basically postulates that there is an infinite number of yous in an infinite number of universes, and
Yeah.
in every one of those universes, the circumstances could be different. Like, for example, in one of those universes, you never got over this trauma. You never took CrossFit. You
Yeah.
decided to do judo instead, or you did. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and your subconscious mind, I think, is what's able to traverse all the multiverse, and that's where your dreams are. Because if you notice, in your dreams, you have total control over so many different aspects of everything if you know how to, control your dreams.
Yeah.
But that's your subconscious mind, and I think hypnosis taps into that part of your brain, which is like your ultimate storage filing system. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it holds, your subconscious mind holds everything. You know how they say, oh, it goes in one ear and out the other. No, it's not true. What happens is you hear information, you pull the parts that you need right then to your frontal lobe, and then your subconscious takes all the stuff that you don't need at that moment and holds on to it in the filing system, and then that shit goes out the all the gobbledygook goes away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if you can tap into your subconscious mind, I think you would have a better control over your essence as just an individual, because then it's like you have access to your totality, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Every aspect of you is going to be channeled through that. And if the soul is energy, science teaches us that energy is the one thing that never dies. It'll transfer and it'll traverse everywhere, but it'll never actually die. This vessel will go away, certainly, but the spirit that holds it together, that will continue on. So in the next life, you may not be Farjana, you might be Sally Mae, but the essence of who Farjana was is still a part of that energy essence. You know what I'm saying? Which is why you might be able to do things that you innately have no idea why you know how to do them, but they come naturally to you. You know what I'm saying? Because you probably learned it in a different life or experience and things of that nature. I believe in these sorts of things because I don't think there's anything out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I just
for sure.
You know what I mean? It's a hell of a concept, man. And I think hypnosis is another avenue that people could use to help heal themselves of trauma, because what it allows you to do is go back to that, see it for what it is. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, if you might think it was, and you might be able to course correct, like, damn, I was wrong. It wasn't that. It wasn't, you know what I'm saying, abuse. It's just, it really was just my mind and what I learned and how I thought of it at that time. You know what I'm saying? It's just another avenue for growth.
And I do think that, everyone should pursue different things to figure out what they need to do to heal and like what's best for them. I know for sure, like body work, I find that very interesting. Somatic therapy, I find very interesting because and I haven't like fully gotten work done, but I know that I've done like, myofascial releases and stuff before through physical therapy. And I just remember like getting like these huge releases from like, whether it's from like my leg being worked on or my back. And I'm just like, that's like so interesting. The power of energy in a sense, so I don't knock anything. I don't think that there's anything that I wouldn't necessarily, try to see what I need for healing. So like, I know that my therapist has given me like a few different things to try and see like if it works for me, somatic therapy being one of them. There's also Reiki.
I'm familiar with Reiki.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with Reiki because I did an interview with some ladies from this place up here called the Crystal Garden, and they're they do the holistic thing and everything, and they brought in Reiki healers. Now, do I necessarily believe that those things work and are true? I honestly don't know. But
it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility.
Out of possibility, right? What I believe is that Western medicine and holistic practices need to come together. You know what I'm saying? Like there needs to be a good balance between the two, because there's nothing unnatural that nature can't cure. You know what I'm saying? And but there are certain avenues that Western medicine will definitely need. Like if you have cancer and you're only going to see your crystal healer, that's not smart. You know what I'm saying? If your crystal healer is somebody of high character and moral character, they'll say, "Hey, go to this doctor, heal, and then allow me to help you heal your spirit and keep that up." And you know what I'm saying? I think that's a responsible aspect of it, and I think that would be beneficial to a lot of people if they did things like that, if the two merged. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's so much potential and growth and possibilities for healing that's out there. And, it's like that's mainly like, what I, aim to do is to help people kind of learn and through me. It's like, when I talk about, like, I'm sure that as I start somatic therapy, as I start, different types of things, I like to post about those things, because I like to give people an opportunity to be like, hey, what is that? Could that be something that might be beneficial for me or whatever else? Or it could just be like, they think I'm crazy and they're not interested in anything that I'm saying, which is also okay. So, but yeah, I definitely believe in trying anything and everything that possibly works for you as a person. Yeah.
I mean, listen, whatever works, I think whatever works for you individually is what you should do, but make sure it's something positive and not something negative. You know what I'm saying? And I think that ultimately will help a lot of people, man.
For sure.
Farjana, I got to tell you, when we did your intro, I said actor, athlete, and creative dynamo, but I want to add survivor to that as well, because
Thank you.
Because that's vastly important, and especially to recognize and to own that idea that yes, you can get past it. It will require a lot of work, and it's not going to be easy, but if you stay strong, you can indeed get through it. And that's
for sure.
It's powerful.
I absolutely, thankful for you saying that. I think I'm still, like I said, I'm still on that journey of trying to figure out who I am. And I do think that so many people definitely, resonate with the word survivor. I don't know, what my word is. Like, I don't know, like, where I'm at. Like I feel like I just have so much healing to still do. And especially right now, I feel like I'm in this like very sensitive like place where I'm like, just trying to figure out who I am. And so, if it resonates with others and they find power, and courage through the things that I share and, my life in a sense, that makes me very happy.
Man, well, listen, Farjana, you got to come back. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you have an open invitation, because I love the positivity. You know what I'm saying? And this is just another avenue of ways that you can help people. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like I said, keep looking, especially now during quarantine, look into the voiceover thing, because getting to the coast and all that, that's difficult. But you say your partner, are you married or you have not made that leap yet?
We're not married, but we've been together for close to a decade at this point. And
what are you waiting on, What you waiting on, girl?
It's like it all depends on, your beliefs in life. I think that we're committed to each other. We love each other. And I think that we don't know if we fully believe in marriage or we don't.
That's fair. The
So
contract is stupid. The contract is
yeah.
stupid. Why am I bringing third parties into with legalese into my damn relationship?
Listen,
That's
we're
a
committed to each
strain.
other, and like, we're respectful of each other. We love each other, and to me, like, you know, that's more than I can ask for right now,
It's all that matters to me, man.
Yeah.
I'm very well. Listen, Farjana, it's funny. I always think about it. Like, I remember when we met. You were, like I said, I think you were on I think you were on my team when I was a team lead or something. I think you were on my team,
Probably.
and you know what I'm saying? You were so open and willing to talk to the old folk. You know what I'm saying? So I
Absolutely.
always found that, and then you never ever had a problem talking to me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So I didn't recognize it at the time, but what I kind of realize now is like, whether uh willingly or unwillingly, or whether we realized it or not, our energies were good with each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, I look at
Yeah.
that now, like,
Yeah.
that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? And it allows us to continue to, like, come on, it's over a decade now.
Yeah.
Like,
I
shit,
think
girl.
honestly, everyone has a story that they want to tell.
Yes, they do.
Everyone wants to be heard in a sense. And I think it all depends on, if the people that you're talking to, if they're receptive to your energy in a sense. So, yeah, it's been many years at this point, but yeah, I love talking to people, and I think that, we should all talk more.
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree, man. Well, listen, Farjana, I'm gonna let you go. You go do your thing. I don't know what you got planned for the rest of the night. I just drank a pot of coffee, so I'll be up in the next 14 hours. But
I'm gonna go do laundry.
hell yeah, there you go. See,
Yeah.
there you go. That's the stuff to
Well,
keep you grounded.
yes. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate you, and for, one, creating this platform for, so many of us to come on and talk, and for being willing to listen. So thank you for that
You're
as well.
you're welcome, and thank you for joining me. And as I said, you gotta come on back when you try the new healing technique. I want you to come on back and tell me how it went and how it's going and everything.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? And I'm telling
absolutely.
you, you can do a martial art. You know what I'm saying? Because I
Yeah.
guarantee you, because you'd be surprised how much of that trauma you're gonna release if you punch a punching bag a few times. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, you
you
just,
kick it one
there's
good
always
time, you're
something to
like,
try for sure.
"Ooh, I like this." You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
Farjana, again, blessings, man. I appreciate you for coming. Um,
thank you.
you have yourself a blessed one. All right.
You do the same. Stay safe wherever you are in Pennsylvania. Stay away from people and stay safe.
Wear your mask. Wash your hands.
Yes. All
Don't.
right. Take care, and
Man.
thank you again.
You're welcome, man. You have a blessed one. All right. I'll speak to you
All right.
later.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Farjana Abdul, ladies and gentlemen. Ah, man, that was an awesome conversation. You know what I'm saying? Again, healing is very important in all aspects. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what you've gone through in life or what you might be going through now, especially with everything that happened in the last year, all those that we've lost, or just the uncertainty of everything. It can all seem overwhelming, and it can all seem like it's just so fucking much. Um, but what I always say is focus on the small things, and all the big shit will fall into place. And that's all you can hope for. You know what I'm saying? I always say I'm thankful for breathing. I'm thankful for being alive. And I'm just thankful for being here. So those are the things that are important. And all the big shit will just fall right into place after that. Vega, you got anything to add, brother?
Oh no, I'm chilling, man.
You know what I'm saying? Well, hey, man, this is Frank Starfire. This has been the Just to Be Frank podcast. Thank you for joining me as ever. We'll see you next time. One love. Abracadabra.